I've been meaning to work on this bookcase that I thrifted quite a few months back, and I think today's going to be the day where I transform this quite nice single bookcase with great storage into a bit of a dark chalk painted beauty. So I'm going to fill in these details because they're a bit more classic. I'm not really a fan of those features there, and they've got some down here, so I'm just going to fill that in with some wood filler, change out the hardware for something a bit modern, and then create my own little chalk paint for this bookcase. So first thing I'm going to do is take everything off and bring it into my painting space. So let's get started. I'm first going to give this all a very thorough clean. So here I've got a bit of a paint drip, and I'm just using a Stanley knife to kind of cut out. So I've removed most of the paint that's dried on that, and I'm just going to use a sander to try and get through it. So now I'm just going to fill in these detailing with some wood filler. So if I'm using my fingers, I can actually get enough pressure into the actual groove detailing. So you can definitely use whatever technique you find most useful. I'm going to remove this hardware, though it's really nice. It's a bit too classic for what I wanted to make over this bookcase to, so I'm going to remove this and fill in the holes and then find the center point, because I'm going to use a knob, I think, rather than a handle to finish this off. While I have those drawers drying with the wood filler, I'm going to use a coarse sandpaper, about an 80 grit, just clean up top. And then I'm just running my hand over it to see if there's any really deep cuts. So this is now dried, and I'm going to fill in the scratches and lines. Some part black chalk paint, and I've got a really deep charcoal black as well that I'm going to be using, and I might just grab a small brush, put that into. So I'm going to paint this quite a dark colour. I think that's going to work really nicely in that little corner, and dark colours actually make things appear a bit more receded in the distance, so going for a colour rather than white is going to make it disappear and blend into the wall a little bit more. So it's kind of going to be a blue-black, I think. I always love making up my own colours because I think it's quite fun, and it's a really useful way of finishing up and using all the paint supply that you have before buying new. That's looking quite mid-blue actually. I might make that a bit darker. Some more charcoal. And if you're not sure of how you're going to go with your custom color, you can always paint a little swatch on the piece first, and then, because it's always going to be quite different to what you make and then how it dries. So I might actually do that with this color that I've made so far. So I'm just going to do a little test swatch inside. It's actually quite blue, so I might add in a bit more black actually. It's just a bit too blue for my liking. I do want a bit more of a charcoal black. Okay, next up, a bit more black. So it's a tinge deeper, but I've got to let that dry because chalk paint does always dry quite differently to when you paint, especially as this is the first coat as well. So I'm going to let that dry and apply a second coat to that one, but I think I'm liking this tone a bit more. So I'll let that dry and see how we go with the second coat on that to check if I need to add more black pigment to the chalk mitts. So this is all dried off now. So I'm going to be using a 240 grit. This is the hardware that I'm going to be using. It's a really lovely ceramic pool that is going to be from my collection, which I'm hoping to release very soon. And just want to make sure that that fits, and that does. So now I can paint this one up and just drill in the holes for the others. So to make sure I'm not wasting any paint and not splashing it about, I'm using a smaller, thinner paintbrush. Just go and cut in on all the edges. And then when I want to fill in the rest of the spaces, just use the large brush. So my plan of attack is to paint the inside as I go up each level, and I haven't painted a bookcase before, so what I'm going to do is actually use the smaller brush to get inside the detailing of the grooving at the back panel. So it's just as if you're kind of painting a wall. You want to cut in to the details on the sides and your cornices, and then you use a bigger brush to paint the wall feature. The smaller brush is going to get into those nooks and crannies a lot better, and it doesn't waste too much paint by getting into that either. And now I'm going to take the bigger chalk brush, which is really good for coverage. So this colour's definitely turned out to be more of a blue, which I'm not disliking, but it will dry a lot darker as well. And in the corner that I'm using it in, it's quite dark and there isn't any natural light, but it's definitely going to come out a lot darker and show more black base as well. So as much as possible you want to keep your strokes in the same direction. So with the sides you can kind of do a mixture of coming out as you're fanning it to make sure you don't get the excess paint dripping on the sides. I'm really happy with the colour choice. It's actually a lot more navy than I thought it would be, but that's turned out quite nicely. And you can see that the top detailing is completely concealed, so that's nice and clean there. And the top, pretty good, doesn't have too many scratches showing. Probably my least favourite part, and obviously Skill did not conceal this part, but the dark paint hides that up quite well, so I'm not too bothered with that. And as I'm not selling it, that's nothing to really pick on, so really happy with that finish. The wax makes it look really nice and matte and will protect it from scratches and things, and love the little back paneling. It really highlights quite nicely, and kind of styled this up a bit more coastal and decided to show you in this little nook here because the lighting is a lot better, and I'll show you what it looks like in its entry space. Hope you liked this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more furniture makeovers and interior styling and design tips. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.